Good evening, councillors, staff, members of the public. Please be upstanding for Her Worship Mayor Karen Vernon.
Good evening, everyone. The time is now 5:32 p.m. I'll declare this special council meeting of the town of Victoria Park is open. I'd like to begin with an acknowledgement of the traditional owners. Nunjarapan Wajak Noongar Budja Yakan Nidja Bilya Barduk. I am honoured to be standing on Wajak Noongar country on the banks of the Swan River. Nan Kadach Noongar Mort Ken Kadak Nidja Wajak Noongar Budja. Nan Kadich Nidja Noongar Brudia Kora Yeye Border Balapan Mordich Noongar Kadajan Mort Where Budja Yeye. I acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land and respect past, present and emerging leaders, their continuing cultural heritage, beliefs and relationship with the land, which continues to be important today. Nanyunka Balapan Noongar Brudia Where Mort Nidja Budja. I thank them for the contribution made to life in the town of Victoria Park and to this region. Please be seated. Well, a warm welcome to everyone for our very first council meeting for the year, which just so happens to be a special council meeting. But for those who are joining us on live streaming, welcome to you too. Item 2 on the agenda is announcements from the presiding member. 2.1, recording and live streaming of proceedings. In accordance with Regulation 14I of the Local Government Administration Regulations 1996, this meeting is being audio and video recorded and live streamed on the town's website. Under Clause 39(1) of the Meeting Procedures Local Law 2019, I do not give permission for any other person to record the proceedings of this meeting, apart from the town's administration. By being present at this meeting, members of the public consent to the possibility that their image and voice may be live streamed. Recordings will also be made available on the town's website following the meeting. 2.2 is public question time and public statement time. As this is a special council meeting, any public questions or statements must relate to the business of the agenda. There are guidelines that need to be adhered to in our council meetings, and during question and statement time, people speaking are not to personalise any questions or statements about elected members or staff or use any possible defamatory remarks. In accordance with Clause 40 of the Meeting Procedures Local Law, a person addressing the council shall extend due courtesy and respect to the council and the processes under which it operates, and shall comply with any direction by the presiding member. A person present at or observing a meeting shall not create a disturbance at a meeting by interrupting or interfering with the proceedings, whether by expressing approval or dissent, by conversing or by any other means. When the presiding member speaks during public question time or public statement time, any person then speaking is to immediately stop, and every person present is to preserve strict silence so that the presiding member may be heard without interruption. As per my usual practice, there's a limit of 3 questions per person and 2 minutes in total for statements during public statement time. If, however, there are very few people in the public gallery, always happy to be flexible with those limits. In accordance with Clause 56 of the Meeting Procedures Local Law, both elected members and the public, when speaking, are not to reflect adversely on the character or actions of elected members or employees. So, attendance, we have all elected members in attendance save for Councillor Melrosa, who is an apology for tonight's meeting. We have a number of members of the town's staff, executive and administration led by the CEO, Mr Carl Askew. There is no one on approved leave of absence. Item 4 is declarations of interest. Mr CEO, do you have any declarations of interest, please?
I've received none, Mayor Vernon.
Thank you. Are there any elected members who have an interest they need to declare but have not yet done so? Now is the time to let me know, please. No, I'm seeing no indication of declarations of interest. So we will move to item 5 on the agenda, which is public question time, which I'll now open at 5:36 p.m. I do have indicated on the list for public question time Vince Maxwell. If you'd like to come forward, please state your name and your suburb, and we'll look forward to hearing your questions.
Good evening, Mayor and Councillors. Vince Maxwell from Victoria Park. In the audit report under section 9.1 or item 9.1, I note that the interim audit and final audit management letters are listed as confidential and they are not included in the publicly available documents. What is the specific statutory basis relied upon by Council to classify the interim and final audit management letters as confidential and to withhold them from public release?
Thanks, Mr Maxwell. I refer your question to the Chief Financial Officer, Mr Old.
Thank you, Mayor. Through you, Mayor. Local Government Act 1995, Section 5.23, meetings generally open to the public, Section 4D, subsection 3, the subsection E, information that making public of which would likely be to endanger security, including cybersecurity of any of the local government's property operations.
Your next question, Mr Maxwell.
The auditor's report for the 2022-23 year identified a significant matter wherein the town had issued 992 purchase orders after invoices were received, effectively bypassing the town's procurement policy, and the value of those purchase orders totaled $10.9 million. For the 4 months after receiving that auditor's findings, the town continued this practice at the same rate, issuing 330 purchase orders after receiving an invoice. So my question is, what formal action did Council take following receipt of the 2022-2023 Auditor's Report to stop the practice of issuing purchase orders after invoices were received?
Mr Old?
That is an operational matter, so I can't talk for Council, but I can reassure that the operational team headed by myself, we have periodic reports of POs raised after the fact. We ask staff for explanations. We do that on a sample basis, given that we have in excess of 20-something thousand invoices a year. The procurement team, procurement policy is regularly reviewed by Council, and there's been tweaks and amendments to that to allow to reflect on the ground issues or processes for procuring items. And in addition, if I recall correctly, there was an internal audit on that process as well. I think after that year just mentioned.
Mr Maxwell?
Thank you for that. So I note that the CFO says this has been addressed in a number of ways. So just to confirm for the record, what is the current rate of purchase orders being raised after invoices are received? A number or percentage would assist.
Well, Mr Maxwell, I'm not sure that falls within the rules for questions for special council meetings. You're entitled to ask questions about the auditor's report, but you're now asking questions that actually relate to the operations of the town, which I consider is quite outside the independent auditor's report and the audited financial statements. Do you have another question that would be related to the items on the agenda?
Well, thanks, Mayor, but I believe that actual question relates directly to the auditor's report. But anyway, I'll ask my next question.
Which part of the auditor's report, page and section, please?
I haven't got that because you hide it from us.
Well, Mr Maxwell, item 9.1.1 is the independent auditor's report for 2025. So that's available to the public. The audited financial statements for 2025 is 9.1.4, that's available to the public, and 9.1.2 and 9.1.3 are not being hidden from the public as you suggest in some way that indicates the town is doing anything wrong. Those matters have been determined to be confidential. So in that circumstance, what part of the documents attached to any of the reports for 9.1 are you referring to?
I'm referring to the interim audit and final audit management letters.
All right, well, those are, you need to tell me which page of those documents you're referring to if you want to suggest that your question is now relevant to the item that is on the agenda.
It's very amusing, Mayor. You know full well that I have no access to those documents because you're keeping them secret.
Mr Maxwell, you're now in breach of the meeting procedures, local law. You know the rules. When I speak, everyone else preserves strict silence. I read those rules out at the beginning, so I won't tolerate this from you. I've indicated that your questions are not relevant to tonight's agenda, but you can ask those questions at any ordinary council meeting, as you well know, and at that point in time, those questions can be answered. They are not, in my view, relevant to the independent auditor's report documentation. So, since there aren't any other members of the public present tonight, do you have any other questions in relation to any of the items on the special council meeting agenda?
Yes, I have on regards to the surplus for this year. So the surplus for the 22-23 year was $7.4 million. The surplus for the 23-24 year was 10.4, but later revised by the auditor to 11.6 or 11.7 million. And the surplus for the 24-25 year is $5.2 million. So every year the budget shows a predicted end of year surplus as $0, and yet year after year we end up with a massive surplus. So obviously the town's budget modelling is flawed, resulting in the council setting rates far higher than they need to be. So why do the town's annual budgets repeatedly forecast a break-even result when the actual outcomes are multi-million dollar surpluses?
Direct that question to Mr. Old.
Under the Local Government Act or regs, I can't recall exactly what section, council is essentially required to adopt a balanced budget or within plus or minus 10% of rates, which is our primary reason for, or one of our reasons for doing that. It's good business practice to adopt a balanced budget. Throughout the year, there will be matters that come up when reality hits budget in the face that we're outside of control, whether it's timing of a delivery of a project on the ground, or there might be an operational matter that doesn't proceed. Of the $5.2 million there, albeit we did predict 5.8 for the budget we adopted this year, so we had to revise that down, so hence the item in the agenda briefing forum. Of the $5.2 million from memory, 4.8, sorry, let me just check that is correct. $4.8 million is, 4.1 I should say, is allocated to carry forward projects. Of the balance that is then flushed through the budget proper, so we do allow for that, and it does reduce rates. So you may recall in this budget we had to adopt FOGO, we had to adopt quite an increase in waste management, is just the one that pops to mind, and we do allow for that when we do manage the budget. So the end of year surplus may be predicted to be nil, but throughout the year things happen that we have no control over.
Thank you, Mr. Maxwell. I'm happy to hear a final question from you, but we need to move on with the agenda because we have an agenda briefing forum starting at 6:30.
Yes, I've only got one more question, but just note that the Act requires you to hold the public questions open for 15 minutes. But just in following up on that answer, has the council, or have you, Mayor, since I can't ask the council this question, considered whether consistent over-forecasting of costs results in rates being set higher than necessary?
Yes, I have considered that. Thanks, Mr. Maxwell. Appreciate your questions tonight. So thank you. I'll now conclude public question time at 5:45 p.m. Item 6 on the agenda, Mr. Maxwell, if you want to stick around, is public statement time, and I have you registered to make a statement. So officially open public statement time at 5:45 p.m. Mr. Maxwell, you wish to make a statement?
I do. Thank you. So tonight's questions were not about personalities and not about political theatre. They are about financial governance, accountability, and public confidence in how this town is being run. When audit management letters are kept from the public view, when significant control failures are identified by the auditor, and when those same issues appear to continue after being raised, it does not strengthen trust, it weakens it. Auditors label matters significant for a reason. That word has meaning. It signals risk, it signals urgency. Electors expect those risks to be corrected, not normalised. We're also seeing a pattern in financial outcomes that deserve serious attention. Year after year, budgets are presented as break-even, yet the town finishes with multi-million dollar surpluses. And this is not a one-off timing issue, it is systemic forecasting problem. When forecasting is significantly and consistently wrong on that scale, it affects rate setting, long-term planning, and the credibility of financial management. Local government operates on a social contract. Ratepayers fund the organisation with the expectation that money will be collected transparently, controls will be followed, and oversight will be active, not passive. when procurement controls are bypassed, when audit findings are treated as administrative details, and when information is withheld, the perception becomes that governance is something managed behind closed doors rather than exercised in the open. Good governance is not demonstrated by saying, "Trust us." It is demonstrated by evidence, transparency, and measurable correction of identified problems. That is what electors are looking for. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr Maxwell. Noting there are no other members of the public in the gallery, I'll close public statement time at 5:47 p.m. Item 7 on the agenda is presentations. 7.1 petitions, there are none. 7.2 presentations, there are none. 7.3 deputations, there are none. Item 8, method of dealing with agenda business, there is none. Item 9 is reports. The first report, 9.1, is the Independent Auditor's Report and the annual financial statements for 2025. This is an absolute majority item. I will move the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee's recommendation that Council 1 receives the Independent Auditor's Report 2025 and management letters for the year ended 30 June 2025, and 2, accepts the annual financial statements for 2025. Can I seek a seconder, please? We're using electronic seconding and voting. Thank you. That is seconded by Councillor Cruiser. As the mover of the motion, I commend the recommendation to Council, thank the CFO and his team, and indeed all the wider town staff for their work towards the audit. I think the audit process this year for the financial year ended 30 June 2025, was smoother than it has been for the subsequent or the preceding 2 years. So we're moving to a stage where our audit readiness is improving and maturing, and that's an important stage. We continue to have an unqualified audit opinion, which is very important for us. And so in those circumstances, the matters that have been indicated for our attention are ably dealt with by the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee through its quarterly reporting of actions to be taken to address those matters identified in the management letters. So that's all I have to say on the matter. Councillor Cruiser is the seconder. Did you wish to be heard? No? All right, thank you. So I'll formally ask, is there any dissent? No, there being no dissent, declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. Next item is 9.2, Annual Report 2024-2025 and Annual Electors Meeting. Again, this is an absolute majority item. Again, I will move the recommendation from the Audit Risk and Improvement Committee, which is that Council 1 accepts the Town of Victoria Park Annual Report 2025, forming Attachment 1 to this report, as amended administratively since 16 December 2025, and 2, holds an annual electors meeting on Monday 16 March 2026, commencing at 6 p.m. in the Council Chamber, Town of Victoria Park Administration Centre, 99 Shepparton Road, Victoria Park. Can I seek a seconder, please, for that recommendation? Still seeking a seconder? All right, thank you. That's been seconded by Councillor Minson. Now, do we have any questions in relation to the annual report and or the setting of the annual meeting of electors from any elected members? No? All right, in that case, I, as the mover of the item, will just briefly say the town's annual report is our opportunity to report to our community on the activities, programs and initiatives that we have undertaken in the financial year to 30 June 2025 that meet our strategic plans and intentions for the community, and also how we deliver core services that we're required to undertake by legislation. I think the annual report this year takes a lot of data and information that we receive, and some of that is legislatively required by us to be presented in the annual report. and the rest of it is the subject of narration for understanding and interpretation. And I think the annual report indicates that the organisation is continuing to deliver significant services and programs that are of benefit to our community. So I extend our thanks to the Manager of Stakeholder Relations and the Communications and Governance team for their work on collectively and collaboratively putting together the annual report for us. So, Councillor Minson, as a seconder, did you wish to be heard on this item? No? No? All right. I'll formally ask, is there any dissent to the recommendation? No, there being no dissent, declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 9.3, Lathlain Park Grandstand Remedial Works. This is an absolute majority item because we're allocating a budget outside of our formal adopted budget. The recommendation is that Council 1 notes that the town needs to commence urgent remediation works at the existing grandstand facility at Lathlain Precinct. 2, approves the budget amendment A to increase maintenance budget for leased buildings Lathlain Grandstand by $170,000, being for the grandstand high priority items $110,000 and electrical high priority items $60,000, and B to transfer $170,000 from the Lathlain Park Reserve to fund the remediation works, and 3, notes that a request for further funds may be presented at future council meetings. Seeking a mover and seconder, please, for this item. That's moved Deputy Mayor Miles, seconded Councillor Anderson. At this time, Deputy Mayor Miles, did you wish to be heard on this item? No. Councillor Anderson, do you wish to be heard?
Thank you, Mayor. I have 2 questions.
Yep. By all means.
The first question is, are these works expected to extend the usable life of the grandstand by a defined period, or are they purely short-term risk mitigation?
Direct that question to the Chief Operations Officer, Ms Lubickas.
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. These are make-safe remediation actions.
Thank you for your response. My second question, have staff received any advice from insurers or risk auditors about continued use of the facility?
Ms Lubickas.
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. No, we haven't sought advice from any risk assessors or insurers. We've been working with our structural engineers, and all of the works are being directed by our structural engineers.
Anything further, Councillor Anderson?
No, thank you, Mayor.
Did you wish to speak at this time on this item?
No, that's fine.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone else who has any questions about this item? Councillor Ingram?
Thank you, Mayor Vernon. Just to clarify, there's more than enough of that amount available in the Lathlain Park Reserve Fund?
I'll direct that question to the Chief Financial Officer, Mr Old. I think there's 4-point-something million in the Lathlain Park Reserve. We'll go to Mr Old, though.
Referring to our newly adopted annual financial report, that would be, as at 30 June last year, you're correct, Mayor, $4.208 million. I don't think we've touched that since then, so yes.
Any further questions from any elected members? No, then I'll formally ask, is there any dissent to the officer recommendation? No, there being no dissent, declare that carried unanimously. Thank you. We'll now move to item 10 in the agenda, which is public question time, which I now open at 5:55 p.m. Are there any questions from the public gallery? No, there being no questions, I'll close public question time at 5:55 p.m. Item 11 is public statement time, which I now open at 5:55 p.m. Is there any questions from the public gallery? Any statements from the public gallery? No, there being no indication of any statements from the public gallery, I will close public statement time at 5:55 p.m. Item 12, meeting closed to the public. We have no items for which the meeting will be closed to the public tonight. So on that business, there being no other matters in this agenda, I will close tonight's meeting at 5:56 p.m. Thank you, everyone. Good evening. For those who might be planning to stick around, it'll be approximately just a little over 30 minutes before we'll be starting tonight's agenda briefing forum for February. Thank you very much. Good night.
Councillors, please be upstanding for Mayor Karen Vernon. Thank you. Please be seated.